What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fan? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench Podcast Network and channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB, Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right. That's right. For everyone who's tuning in, we thank you for supporting Behind the Bench and subscribing to the channel, helping to make this show the best that it can be. And, a couple of members of the crew, we all did a live stream about 5 days ago. Talking basketball, talking the situation involving the Los Angeles Lakers. And it was one of our first live streams that we did that, we went live for about 3 hours. It was a lot of fun. And it was nothing really predetermined. It was just natural. And that's what we try to be about, man. Everyone has an opinion on things, man. And we respect each other's opinion. And, we go back and forth. We shoot the breeze. We laugh a little, you know what I'm saying? We dab a little, But at the end of the day, it's all good. And that's what sports is about, man. The way sports used to be presented was a major outlet where, outside of your daily life, work life or whatnot, family life, just the constant challenges that you face, each and every day. But sports was that outlet, man, particularly for, men. Not trying to be chauvinist because I know it's a lot of women that enjoy sports, which is great. Because to tell you the truth, when the WNBA first started in 1997, I watched, every game I could tune into. Every game that I had time to watch, I watched. And I loved it, man. I love the WNBA. I'm going to try to get back into it. But them first 4 years, man, where the Houston Comets with Cynthia Cooper, Tina Thompson, and Cheryl Swoops, they dominated, man. They dominated, won like the first 4 WNBA titles, and then the LA Sparks with Lisa Leslie. And then other teams started breaking through, like Seattle Storm, Detroit Shock, I believe. The New York Liberty were a good team. So I'm going to start getting back into the WNBA, but sports used to be like that saving grace where it was sacred, where sports really did bring people together, man. I'm talking about in terms of when people come together for the common goal. That's what sports represented, teamwork and whatnot, and it was kind of like a utopia of sorts, but that has been severely compromised, and it doesn't really feel good, man. It's like, whatever political agendas existed, it seemed like a lot of that, type of coercion has infiltrated sports, man, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty, man. And also, we have a lot of revisionists out there, man. I love setting up backdrops when I do my videos as an introspective to guide myself as well as those who listen or watch to get a framework of how things used to be. And it's not about living in the past, but sports commentary was way better in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, up until about like the mid 2000s. I guess you would have to include the 60s in that too. Now, I wasn't around in the 60s, but there used to be a program that started in the 60s on ABC called ABC Wide World of Sports. The Thrill of Victory and the Agony of Defeat, right? Where Howard Cosell was the lead sports figure, for that program. And the late, great Howard Cosell. And it just seems like they had a better idea, their concept, their approach to covering sports, man. It was on another level. You know, not saying that they were perfect, man, but it was always about looking ahead, not resting on your laurels. Because as they say, what have you done for me lately? Right? Or as Jerry Glanville, the former NFL coach of the Houston Oilers and the Atlanta Falcons, he said, look, man, NFL stands for not for long. When you make them calls like that, I'll mess around, I'll be selling groceries. He's the one who kicked off not for long, Jerry Glanville. That was back around 1989, 1990, when NFL Films, produced by Steve Sable, used to produce a lot of features on coaches, head coaches, and being mic'd up. That started in the NFL. Miking up coaches, miking up players. That started in the NFL. And now it's a regular fixture of basketball, football, baseball, whatnot, hockey. So what I'm getting at, man, is the framework of sports, the purpose of sports, because sports definitely has a place in life. It has a place. It sets a lot of great examples, man. And everybody cannot play on the professional level, So what you can't do or attempt to do is try to distort history. You cannot do that, because when you do that, what's going to happen is it's going to create a great deal of confusion, because the present exists because of the past. And how you preserve the past and approach the present often dictates what the future is going to look like. The future just don't happen out of happenstance. The future is an extension of both realms. So what I'm trying to get at, man, is when it comes to this agenda to diminish Michael Jordan's career, because I never thought in a million years, it wasn't even part of one's thought process to anticipate an effort to tarnish this man's career. See, people got to realize, man, when Michael Jordan retired in 1993, he had only played 9 years. But he was so gifted. See, how can I say this, man? Like, you have people who are talented, right? And they're good at what they do. But this dude was gifted. What I mean by that is, man, like, your dream scenario of what you wanted your basketball player to be, or like, let me put it like this. You know how you a kid, and whether it's baseball, you want to say, I want to hit the game-winning home run. Or in football, I want to throw the game-winning touchdown. I want to make the game-winning catch. Or in basketball, I want to make the game-winning shot, right? Well, his talent, man, see, God dang it. Right before the start of the 1993-1994 season, when Michael Jordan, announced to the Bulls organization that he's planning on retiring, because he said if he didn't have no more challenges, man, there was no motivation for him to play, because essentially he conquered the sport. But Phil Jackson tried to convince me. He said, you're robbing people of a chance to watch you, because what you bring to the table and what you bring to people, you have a gift. That's what Phil Jackson told Michael Jordan. And then Michael Jordan asked him, he's like, Tell me what challenges lie before me. Tell me what else do I have to prove. And when Phil Jackson could not come up with an answer, well, that was the answer. And therefore he retired. See, it wasn't like, how can I say this? It wasn't like he retired on a humbug. Like, well, I quit. I don't want to play no more. No, it wasn't really, how can I say this, man? He retired because he conquered the sport. Because we hadn't seen a team win 3 straight. The last team to do it was the 60s Boston Celtics. And the first team to repeat as champions after Boston did so in 1969 was the Lakers in 1988. First team in 19 years to go back-to-back. And then the Pistons won back-to-back in 89 and 90. And then the Bulls would eventually go on to win 2 three-peats over the course of 8 years. So I'm trying to set this up, man, because the fans of today who are just coming up, they really don't understand the impact of this guy and what he meant to the sport of basketball. From, young cats, man, whether it's in a city or whatnot, they adopted the ball look. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, Jordan started off as, we all do, we young men, we got a head full of hair. And then I remember, man, now mind you, I'm not a fan of the Chicago Bulls, man. I'm a Los Angeles Lakers fan. But I knew this man was something different. He was something different, man. And I remember going into the 1989-90 season, the opening night, Michael Jordan, he shaved his hair off. And he sported that clean ball look. And I'm telling you, when you first saw him, man, he literally looked like a pit bull. He was drafted, it was meant for him to be drafted by the Chicago Bulls, that's what I'm trying to say. Because that's how he looked. And I said to myself, oh my God, this dude, I said, this cat, man, he finna cause havoc, dog. He was putting fear in people, man. And that's what these talking heads, they're not going to tell, because half of them weren't even around then. So what I'm trying to say is, man, they've tried to diminish his impact to such a degree where, now the common thought is where there is no GOAT, or we have GOAT of different eras. It sounds good, man. That sounds good. But that's not what they were saying when this man retired in 93 for the first time. Consistency wise, man. Will Chamberlain. The late great Will Chamberlain. He gave an interview around in the early 90s. And Will Chamberlain said, well, every player in the league owes 10% of their salary to Michael Jordan because of how he elevated the sport. See, he inspired players to even play above their own expectations. Just to compete with him, you had to bring your A+ game. And see, the better that you played, that made him play. It was almost like, man, when you played him, when his teammates matured to the point where they were ready to fulfill their role on the team, whether Scottie Pippen is the number 2 guy or Horace Grant is the number 3 guy, or Jim Paxson, who would, play off Jordan, hit open jump shots, or B.J. Armstrong, or Bill Cartwright, or whomever. This guy would not be denied. Once he broke through and won, everybody knew it was over, man. What I mean by in your heart you knew it was over. When he retired in 93, everybody felt they finally had a chance to win. Because the team that was favored to win the championship was the very team that the Bulls beat to claim their third straight championship in the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix entered the 93-94 season as the prohibited favorite to win the championship. Everybody, the Knicks was like, oh man, we finally got a chance to win it now. I'm telling you how it was. And then when he returned back in 95, even though he wasn't in basketball shape, because he hadn't played in the NBA, it's for, official NBA basketball for like close to 2 years. But when he came back, man, I'm telling you, man, it was like, it was kind of like when Mike Tyson was released, from, he was locked up for about 3 years, right? In Indiana. I just say he was in prison for 3 years. I don't want to go into details, all that. But I remember, man, when he was in prison, all them heavyweight boxers was talking. They was talking like, man, I know I can beat Tyson, man. I can do this. The day Tyson was released, no boxer, you didn't hear nothing. You didn't hear nothing. Now, even though Tyson lost, he lost 3 years of his prime. And technically he was never really the same, but just in like recalling how dominant he was, when he was released, nobody said nothing. And that was the same reaction when Michael Jordan announced his return back to the NBA. Everybody had this sad look on their face like, God dang it, man. You feel like, Pat Riley was like, man, we got to deal with this dude again, man. We got to deal with this dude. I'm telling you exactly how it was. That's why Orlando was so excited when they beat the Bulls in 95. But what did Nick Anderson say? He said, that's not the 23 Jordan. That's the 45 Jordan. See, Michael Jordan, he was not in NBA condition. Even though he was in tremendous shape as far as being an athlete, but he wasn't in basketball shape. And you can tell as the playoffs, progressed, that he didn't have his legs. He didn't have that stamina, and he couldn't finish. He didn't have the presence, as B.J. Armstrong said, doing after this series. He didn't have the presence, man, to answer the bell on call. But what's crazy is he still led everybody in scoring. He averaged like 32 points a game in that series versus Orlando. So it wasn't like they were shutting him down. It was just he was off. Like his timing was off. You can just tell, man, he wasn't he was not back. But man, once he got in shape, man, and his whole mission was to avenge that loss. When they played Orlando again, man, they beat Orlando so bad, man. Like Shaq left. You see what I'm saying? And Orlando, by the time they, you had Penny, Shaq, they had the best starting five in the league. Horace Grant. Many people say, oh man, Atlanta gonna rack off about 2-3 championships in the 90s. The Bulls swept them so bad, they were done. So it gets to what I want to talk about real quick, man. And like I said, I'm not trying to be wordy, nothing like this, man. But, when you start talking about, when you seeing history being slighted, I think it's pertinent that you represent history in its context in the way that it should be. So, normally when a player retire in any sport, man, like Jerry Rice retired around 2005. His last season, he played with the Seattle Seahawks, right? He was like 42 years old, right? Okay, so he retired in 2005, around 2005, because he played with the Raiders when they went to the Super Bowl in 2003 and lost to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think he retired around 2005. You don't hear nobody breaking down like Jerry Rice game and saying, well, he couldn't do this or he was overrated in that. Like 20 years after the fact, you don't hear nobody trying to be a revisionist and try to diminish Jerry Rice. And Jerry Rice is considered the greatest wide receiver to ever play in this game. Many people, you had a lot of people out there saying, arguably, he could be the greatest football player who ever competed in the NFL. Because of his dominance, man, what he meant to the league. And a great baseball player, man, like when they retire, let's say like, if someone retired in the 90s, man, let's just take a Derek Jeter, man. Derek Jeter, man, he was a hell of a player. He won like 5 World Series in his career. Considered one of the greatest shortstops they ever played. Clutch player, man. He was a leader. He was a captain of them Yankees teams, man. You don't hear nobody saying, and Derek Jeter retired. Shit, Derek Jeter he been retired for over 10 years. Man, you don't hear nobody saying, well, Derek Jeter, man, he couldn't do this, or, his numbers were exaggerated and he only got this because of that and competition and he had to face. You don't hear that. In hockey, the great one, Wayne Gretzky, is still revered to this day. What I'm trying to say, man, these are pantheon athletes, man. Pantheon, dog. Like, when you think of hockey, historically, you're going to think of the Gretzky's and, Mario Lemieux, Gordie Howes. I'm just throwing names out there, But I'm just saying Gretzky, man, he was that guy. You don't hear nobody saying it with Wayne Gretzky, man. He played in the era, man, with this and that. What I'm trying to say is, man, NFL, they uphold their players. They uphold their past players, man. Baseball, man, every year. Now they have recognized the contribution of black baseball players who were not allowed to play in the major leagues during the days of segregation. Now they are incorporating their statistics as part of Major League Baseball history. But overall, man, they gonna uphold Babe Ruth, man, until time don't exist no more. From here to perpetuity. Hank Aaron, the late great Willie Mays, who we just lost, Roberto Clemente, Mickey Mantle, just legends, man. Reggie Jackson, of all, racial backgrounds, ethnicities. But the NBA, who used to do that, they used to uphold, man. They made sure, man, that you honored those like the late great Jerry West, who we just lost recently. The logo, Will Chamberlain, Bob Cousy. Man, you didn't hear this talk about plumbers and firemen. Man, that's nasty. That's nasty. All them legends back then, man. George Mikan, man. I'm talking Bob Pettit, Nate Thurman. I'm just throwing names out there, man. Oscar Robertson, the Big O. Man, that's what made Johnny Havlicek, Hondo. Havlicek steals the ball. He steals the ball. It's all over. And you didn't hear that back then. This all started 10 years ago. Now, I've watched this man's entire career. From North Carolina, he led Team USA to the gold medal in 1984 when they still featured college players for Olympic basketball in this country. And Michael Jordan was like a 2-time All-American. He played he played up until the junior year of college basketball in North Carolina. And his rookie year, man, The man averaged 28 points a game, 28.2, averaged 6 rebounds, 6 assists. So right off the bat, he showed he was well-rounded, man. It wasn't just like he was out there just scoring points. He was rebounding and getting assists. And then by his third year, and it gets to what I really want to talk about, his third year, he wanted to be recognized for his defensive efforts because that was the year where I believe he became the first player to earn 200 steals and 100 blocks in the same season. And Michael Cooper, who's a great defensive player in his own right, Showtime, baby. You know what I'm saying? He won Defensive Player of the Year. So Michael Jordan felt slighted. He felt that Michael Cooper won that award because of reputation, rather than whether he really deserved it or not. Now, I'm not saying he did deserve it or not because, Michael Cooper, he my guy. He on Showtime. But when you look at statistically, Michael Jordan had a real argument. It was very plausible. He wasn't trying to slight Cooper. He was like, well, look, man, I'm out here. He wasn't trying to bring attention to himself. He just like, man, I'm busting my tail, and I believe that reputation's being granted more so than actual performance. That's what motivated him to do what he did the next year in 87, 88, where he did the same thing again, 200 blocks, 100 steals, and averaged like he averaged over 3 steals a freaking game. Then he scored 35 points a game, shot during it 54%. And that year, man, you talk about an individual season for the ages, man. League MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star Game MVP, scoring champion, slam dunk champion, which I think it was the most anticipated greatest slam dunk battle ever between Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins. I'm not going to get into who really won it or not. But what I'm saying is he led his team from 40 wins in 87 to 50 wins in 88. And he was awarded Defensive Player of the Year. He was celebrated for that, man. Now, all of a sudden, this was back in 1988. Now, all of a sudden, 36 years later, you had some hotshot so-called reporter that's going to try to convince people that his statistics while playing home games was exaggerated to put him in a position to win that award. Everybody knows who's behind this, but I won't mention his name. It's the sickest thing I've ever seen because Michael Jordan retired in 2003. He don't do a lot of interviews. He's done playing basketball. But these talking heads of today, so-called revisionists, agenda setters, they spend more time talking about 1988 or what they want people to convince that happened in 1988 than focus on what's happening in 2024. That's why they keep missing the mark as to the direction that the league is headed, because they was shell-shocked by all these young squads that broke through this postseason and knocked out all these win-now veteran squads in the first round. That's what they need to be covering. That's what they need to be figuring out. But I get the impression that the only reason that they speak of the NBA today is to try to create animosity and prove that today's player is better than yesterday's player. It's not because they truly love the game. Look, how are you going to sit there and talk about something from 36 years ago? That'd be the equivalent of, let's say, And Joe Montana started the San Francisco 49er dynasty when they won the Super Bowl back in 1982. That'd be the equivalent of talking about what a quarterback did back in 1946. You see how insane it is? It's freaking insane. It would make it so bad, they making it up. They are misleading millions because, like I said, man, I picked up on it about 10 years ago, man. When I was coming across some articles and blogs, trying to compare that guy to Jordan, and they was misrepresenting his career marks, his averages. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not. I said, that ain't right. I said, that's not right. I said, man, if you filed it, and this is another thing. But if you filed the NBA, then you knew Michael Jordan retired the first time in '93 with a career point per game average of the regular season of 33.4. The highest point per game average in regular season, postseason, finals. That is historically fact instead of fan fiction. But what they don't know is, look, I love the direction that the league is going in this decade. These young stars coming up, man, they playing hard, they competing, they're trying to represent their franchises. They're becoming leaders in their own right. I don't compare what these players are doing to players of yesterday. I'm enjoying what they're doing now. I don't sit here and say every time they say when a Luka or a Shea or somebody go off for 30, I don't sit there and say, oh man, shit. Magic didn't have that, or he couldn't do that, or Bird couldn't do that. Because they could do it. That's why I don't compare no errors. I don't compare errors. It's about the player and what they achieved when they played. That's really what it's about. But what they don't know is, man, the people covering, it's just like these sports networks. When ESPN was founded in 1979, the people who started ESPN, man, they were serious. They said we want this to be so special and be so exceptional to where people would tune in and watch ESPN like they do like late night news or evening news. That was the whole goal. And then eventually ESPN became a 24-hour sports network. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of their presentation, it was live. They weren't doing like a whole lot of reruns back then. It was live. So what I'm trying to get at is, man, they said, man, we want to establish this network to be the best it can be. The mindset, man, they want to try. Matter of fact, they wanted to, how can I say this? They want to make the past sports commentators proud and say, wow, man, they really took that mantle, man. And they have really did us proud, man. We are happy about what they're doing. They weren't trash in the past. They learn from the past. They honor the past. So what I'm trying to say is, man, the people covering the NBA then, the 80s up until the mid-90s, you could say that was, I'll put it this way. The 80s was considered the golden era of the NBA. That's just, you can do a search engine, you type in NBA golden era, it's going to pop up the 80s. It's going to pop up the 80s. So they weren't trying to hand nobody nothing. Look, the two standard bearers of the NBA in the 80s, we all, for people who watch the NBA then, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Magic Johnson representing the West, Larry Bird representing the East. Both players are credited for helping to save the NBA, right? So you have this wealth of talent, superstar talent, and a lot of ABA players. When the ABA disbanded, a lot of those players were, a lot of those star players, actually all of them were brought in by the NBA. So you was on the verge of creating this this beautiful era of basketball that originated in the 80s. So the way they staged it, man, they weren't handing nobody nothing. You had to go out there and prove it on the court. That was the beauty of it. So when Michael Jordan started his ascension as a player, who was trying to hand Jordan anything? Wasn't nobody trying to hand Jordan anything. And the coverage of the NBA in sports was so direct. It was so absolute to where, in nature, to where if somebody was trying to quote unquote cook the books, they would have reported it then. They would have reported it then. If you know, like this dude, what's his name? Tom Haberstraw, whatever that cat name is. The stat keeper at the Chicago Bull home game, Chicago Stadium, man. If they was trying to exaggerate that man's statistical, remember Johnny Red Kerr, who was like one of the original players of the Chicago Bulls, Johnny Red Kerr, who called the Bulls game. I'm telling you, Johnny Red Kerr would have called that out, man, because that was Johnny Kerr's organization. He was the major figure of the organization. And if anybody was trying to cheat for Jordan, quote unquote, it'd have been called out right then and there. Just as everybody else back then. I'm telling you, man, this stuff is insane. So they're going to spend all their time and energy rather than covering the NBA dynamic now and to really break down professional basketball, man. They rather spend their time and energy trying to take history, misinterpret it, distort it, or just downright create virtual reality out of actual reality and present that to the public to get young minds, man, to believe this nonsense, man. To believe it. And the reason being is because that man set the bar probably too high. And that's really what this is all about, man. Think about it. Here go a basketball player who achieved all those great individual marks. The way he approached the game, playing every game. You can pretty much clock him in for 82 games, right? He gave you maximum effort on offense and defense, right? His competitive will, like my favorite player for the past quarter century or past 25 plus years was Kobe Bean Bryant. As the late Kobe, him and Jordan had this bond, man. It was like, you know, big brother, little brother, right? And Kobe Bryant said, man, you don't have me in those 5 championships without me learning from Jordan. What I mean by learning from Jordan, I ain't talking about copying Jordan. I'm talking about learning from Jordan. But Kobe had his own skill and ability. You see what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to get at is, when you saw that man and the way he played, then you look back on it, why would it be a surprise that he wind up going 6 for 6 in the championship round in the NBA Finals? It's not a surprise if you really look back at it, because he didn't take no shortcuts. That's why. And I think a lot of players, man, who have a beef against this dude, against Michael Jordan, is because of the fact that, for all practical purpose, man, I ain't talking about hitting every shot, because that's impossible. Nobody's ever going to do that. But for all practical purposes, man, he didn't have no flaw to his game when it comes to achieving an absolute state of winning. Once his teammates were ready to fulfill their role consistently, I ain't talking about stacking the deck either. I'm just talking about playing your role. Once they were able to meet that expectation, he was unbeatable, man. And you knew once he won the first one, you knew it was a wrap. Think about it. The Pistons had to employ a defense that was designed for everybody on the team, including the second unit, to try to stop this guy. I can't think of another player where that type of defensive effort was directed towards. I can't think of no big man. Yes, you okay, we've seen big man, double team, triple team at time, but I'm talking about going into a series where the objective is do whatever it is you have to do to stop this guy. Like, as soon as he get the ball, be ready to try to stop this guy. So what I'm saying is, man, when you go through the fire like that, and when you break through, you're unbeatable. Because you done seen it all. So what I'm trying to say is, man, for them to try to discredit with Michael Jordan, I would be upset if they did this to really anybody. Like, now all of a sudden, they talking about John Stockton and whether his assist totals were legit. Well, John Stockton, man, one season he broke the bank. He averaged like 15, 16 assists for a season. All-time leader in assists and steals. It is what it is. You cannot take that away from them players back then because they want a certain guy to be recognized as the greatest of it. You can't do that, man, because sooner or later people not gonna buy it. Especially when the performance don't add up. I'm not talking about cumulative stats. I'm talking about when it comes to winning. Look, and I'm gonna round this up in a couple of minutes. Here go a guy where he led his team, and he was so committed to the team that from 1991 up until his second retirement, 98, they didn't lose. They never lost no more than 2 games in a row. Over the course of 8 seasons, they never lost no more than 2 games in a row. That's a reflection of how he approached the game on both ends of the court, and that example was adopted and rubbed on Scottie Pippen, and Scottie Pippen became an extension of Jordan on the court. That's really what Scottie Pippen was. He was an extension of Michael Jordan, man, and it's great. It's great, but Scottie Pippen, he made a vital contribution to their championships as the number 2 guy. But what I'm trying to say is, man, me personally, I read books on this, man. Michael Jordan played a tremendous role in developing Scottie Pippen, dog. Even Scottie Pippen said it, like, after they won their 4th championship against Seattle during the post game, he said, Mike is like a big brother to me. I learned a tremendous amount from Michael. I try to pattern my game after him. See, in real time, you get the real commentary, not none of this revisionist stuff where you can write something and 30 years after the fact, and you can twist it and turn it the way you want to appeal to a group of fans, man, that's ready to embrace that. But it ain't true. So it's defeating the purpose. So what I'm trying to say is, man, I watched Michael Jordan play, man. And a lot of times, man, I was left in awe. And what I'm trying to say is, man, he was gifted. It ain't about the averages, man. It's not. It's just the way he played the game. It inspired a generation of young men, the want to try to play at that level. It inspired women, female basketball players, to tell you the truth. The WNBA, I can see that in a major way coming into existence because of the influence of Michael Jordan, because you had so many female basketball players that looked up to Jordan. Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, people like that. Now, me personally, if the WNBA had been around in the 80s, I really, just me personally, just in hindsight, looking back on it, I believe, me personally, I believe Cheryl Miller was the greatest woman basketball player I've ever seen. But when she graduated from college USC in with an 84, around 1984, whatnot, the WNBA was not in existence at that time. But I'm telling you, if the WNBA was around then, she'd be viewed as the greatest female basketball player ever. So what I'm saying is, I could see the WNBA, the original female basketball players. They was highly inspired by Michael Jordan, man. He inspired a lot of people, man. And then you start hearing, these references, being the Michael Jordan of football or baseball, whatever it is that your occupation is. Oh man, he or she, they the Michael Jordan of this and that. This is a centurion athlete they're trying to erase from history, man. And I've never seen him play in person, but the energy that you can feel it, man. Okay, and I'm gonna close with this. After facing the Chicago Bulls in the '92 finals, when the Bulls beat the Blazers 4-2. After this series, Clyde Drexler said, "I thought Michael Jordan had 1,000 moves, but I come to understand he has 3,000 moves." See, so in real time, when you compete, the truth is going to be said in real time. Not 30 years after the fact, where you can appeal to a group of people, appeal to the lowest common denominator, and say this and that, and say, well, they'll show some clips of people scoring on Jordan or Clyde. Everybody gets scored on. That's the NBA. That's competition. Everybody get dunked on. Every superstar been dunked on. Jordan been dunked on. Kobe been dunked on. All your big time centers been dunked on. You gonna get dunked on. If you been in the league long enough, somebody gonna rise to the top of you. They gonna catch you. That's just competition. But what I'm trying to say is, man, all you got to do, pull it up on YouTube, Game 1 of the '92 Finals, go into that series, Chicago Bulls, Portland Trailblazers. It was. They called it, man, the collision course, because all season long it was Jordan, Clyde. Clyde is the Michael Jordan of the Western Conference. They was 1-2 in MVP vote getting. Jordan won the MVP. I think that was his third MVP, and Clyde was right behind him, man. And you knew they was gonna meet up in the finals. I'm telling you, the odds on it was 50-50. You really didn't know who was gonna win. And Clyde was playing at the top of his game. He was playing like a beast in the postseason, man. Clyde was balling. Man, that first game, the way Jordan played, man, it was perfection, dog. 35 points in the first half, hitting jumpers all over the court, pull-ups, man, drive to the basket. The two-hand dunk after Pippen missed it, trying to kiss it off the glass for the score, because I think Clyde Drexler and Jerome Kersey was trying to block a shot in transition. Jordan rose over the top, man, he just crashed over the top of him, man. And then them 3-pointers, all. And when he hit that last one, man, I'm sitting there like, I say, I'm looking at him. You went all, man. You went all. He always raised his level of performance, man. And when the stakes were at its highest, man, they can't take that from that dude, and there's no reason for them to try to take it, because at the end of the day, it happened. There's nothing they can do to change it, man. And it's frustrating because it's all unnecessary. It's all unwarranted. It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. And they rather talk about what they think or try to believe happened in 1980 or misrepresent or lie about what this player achieved in that season, rather than focusing on 2024. Because in the grand scheme of things, the reason why they focus on 1988 instead of 2024, because the plan that they had set up some 5-6 years ago. It ain't working out. And that's a whole nother story. I'll say that for another video. But in closing, man, you know, I believe in respect. And like I said, Chicago Bulls were not my team. But this guy, man, he made you respect basketball. When you watch them playoffs between the Bulls and the Knicks, man, the 92 playoff series, Eastern Conference semifinals, man, they call that series the war. It was all out physical. It wasn't dirty. It was physical. The Knicks said you ain't coming in this lane without taking some punishment. You're not gonna freely drive to the lane. Because there was a game in that series where even Jordan drive to the lane, man. I'm telling you, that's how tough that defense was for the Knicks. But slowly but surely, you know, Jordan wore him down, and just his game, man, determination, man, it prevailed in the end. But it wasn't a given. You know, so like I said, man, for all the young basketball fans out there, man, I would advise don't listen to these cats right now, because the sports commentary that y'all are witnessing today is not even on the same plane. It's with the level, the standard that was established in the 80s, 70s, 80s, well, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It just kept building, kept building, kept building, kept building. But they turned it down, man. But in the end, I just, all, you know, young basketball fans coming up, I would advise, do your research, man. There's articles out there. And the beautiful thing about history back then, it was recorded in books. Not narratives, dudes coming on TV trying to memorize some stats. I'm talking about books where you can get an accurate account, where you can visualize in your mind, yeah, this is what happened. Yeah, you get a clear-cut understanding. You know, that's what I would advise. Do your own research. What you're going to find is this man was exactly as advertised, dog. I'm telling you. He was a Pantheon Centurion athlete because his play year after year after year, all the accolades that he received was earned. Nothing was given to him, man. And they need to right this ship. They need to stop bringing this man's name up. Because what's crazy is another reason why they bring the man's name up, because it generates views for them, dog. So even when they tear him down, they actually raising them up at the same time. It's self-defeating. You know what I'm saying? But sorry for the lengthy video. I wasn't planning on doing this long, but like I said, man, when I get going, and I'm just tired of the nonsense, man. And this NBA has a lot of great young talent in it. They need to start covering that. But the reason they really don't want to is because they can't dictate. See, wanting to try to pair superstars together, try to create cakewalks to the finals and all this jazz. No, these young men out here, man, they balling, man. They competing. They don't really want to see that because it's going to highlight how wind-aided this previous era of super team is. So everything they try and discredit previous eras of, it actually occurred in the era that they're trying to superficially anoint as the greatest era. See, in the end, it's not going to work because the history will eventually win out. So I just want to drop that, man. And like I said, man, they need to leave this man alone, man, and move forward. You know, Jordan is Jordan at the end of the day. 6 for 6 in the finals. Never allowed a game 7, but he never went down 2-1 in any championship series. He's undefeated in championship play on any level at which he advanced to the championship round. They can't touch it. And their plan ultimately won't work. So I just want to drop that nugget. And until next time, this is JB for BTB, Behind the Bench.